Hey everybody, welcome to today's education session. As you all know, this month we are talking about all things related to cancer prevention, cancer awareness, and the goal of this month and this session today is just to help you feel more educated, more empowered about your health and your options. It is in no way going to be us suggesting a protocol for you or a treatment for you or anything like that. It's just for you to learn and grow and know more about your options. So today I wanted to introduce you to Jeanette because she is doing a lot of really important work in the cancer area and doing a lot of the holistic and functional approach. So I want you guys to know that this approach exists. And I think that Jeanette has a lot of, really good information and testimonials to share. So Jeanette, maybe to start, could you just introduce yourself and tell us about your work?
Yes, so I am a certified holistic cancer coach and functional lifestyle consultant. Under that umbrella, I have quite a few modalities and certifications that I'm able to give a well-rounded, complete approach for my clients. I like to be their ally throughout the cancer journey, meet them where they are, and depending on whatever treatment they do choose to do, just know that they have support there as well.
Awesome. And I want to make sure that I don't forget this at the end. Can you give your website in case someone wants to learn a little bit more about what you offer?
Yes, experiencehealthbyjeanette.com. And if some of you guys go to the contact me page, I will give you guys some free ebooks. I have a how to detox your home, a couple of chemicals that I'm sure you're an advocate to not have in your home, but just a couple of free ebooks if they're interested.
Okay, and in case you guys are trying to get there now, Jeanette is spelled Jeanette.
Correct.
All right. So when you work with your clients, you probably work with people, just all across the spectrum and, different journeys. Do you have any favorite resources or some, basic places you start with folks just to get some foundational work laid?
Yeah, for prevention?
Sure.
Okay. So unfortunately, a lot of the people that I do meet we don't have the opportunity to get on the prevention side. Usually those that are diagnosed, the family around them, we get them on some kind of bandwagon. The first place I always say is set a time in your calendar, and what I do, or what I like to call, is called a doctor march. So you go to all of your doctors a certain time of year every year, so that when you get your bill of health, your theme bill of health, you don't really worry about it. You don't allow those feelings to fester, and it's kind of out of the way. I always say try to do it around your birthday, and it's a nice little walk. Unfortunately, it's a little hard for me because it is right around Christmas time and most doctors are on vacation, but start there. Know where you're at, know what your risks are, and if you do walk out with a very fortunate clean bill of health, ask your doctor, what do I look for? What are signs and symptoms based on my family lineage and history? So start there, because I hate for some people to become orthorexic, where they just completely, dare I say, sometimes not even have things to eat because they have a fear that there might be a GMO in it or a toxin, or not know where to wash it. And so it's really know what your risks are. And then prevention, I love when people have a functional doctor. I mean, that's just, I say, start there, get a doctor that knows what root cause means, knows the importance of a healthy lifestyle and diet that contribute to overall health. And that sets you up on a game plan, can maybe direct you to certain supplements or a team of people that can help them, in addition to how to even read supplements. I'm a huge advocate for dietitians when they're in line with what you want and what your family's lifestyle is. That's one. Two is when it comes to eating, plan. Unfortunately, we're hustle and bustle all the time that we get, unfortunately, distracted or loss of time that we're at the mercy of whatever is in front of us, available to us. A lot of the time, grocery stores don't even have the cleanest produce. And so if you have a plan, it's a great thing. I love Thrive Market. I get a couple of things from them. I have some local kitchens here and chefs that deliver about 2-3 meals a week, so I don't have to worry about their clean, organic, sustainable, artisan type food. But as for resources, because I am in the cancer world, I just love Kris Carr's approach, Crazy Sexy Cancer. She has beautiful, beautiful resources. I love GOTS, which is, are you familiar with GOTS?
No, but I have Kris Carr's book.
Yeah, Kris Carr is pretty cool. There's a couple of websites for household appliances and goods that I like to say, because everything starts in our home. I mean, we spend most of our time there, even if we're not active or awake. We're sleeping there, we're inhaling whatever flame retardants or irritants that are there. And so I always say start in your home. Start with your water. The Environmental Working Group. You're asking for resources, right? Yeah, the Environmental Working Group is one of my favorite ones. Deborah Davis's page, in addition to that, it's great. The Cancer Control Society is a fantastic one. Let me see if those are some of my favorites, some of my go-tos. There are more specific ones that I do like depending on my clients' lifestyles. There are some people who don't have the time or not stay-at-home mom, and so there will be other websites that I would direct them to. But in general, those are like kind of some basic foundations that I like.
Yeah. So maybe people can just, start browsing around, looking at all these resources, find someone that resonates with them, that they feel like they really like their style and what they're saying, and just maybe the personality resonates, but just sort of dig around, or it doesn't have to be a person necessarily, it could be an organization. But look around and start, find a couple to follow. You guys don't have to follow everybody, but find some people to follow and, just start learning little by little. And it is a lot to take in at first. And that's one of the many, many reasons I like the health coaching field, is because when you have a health coach, you have someone who's sitting there with you, holding your hand through this, answering your questions, making it all very doable, sustainable. You're not by yourself. So that's why I'm so glad people can get to know you, Jeanette, because whether they know they're at high risk for cancer and want to learn how to prevent it, or maybe they or a loved one has a cancer diagnosis and just needs some support. It's such a big event, life event to go through, and just having someone like Jeanette to support that can make every difference in the world. And I just wanted to get back to what you said about root cause. I also absolutely love it. I do a major cheer when people say, oh, I'm working with a functional medicine doctor. But I wanted to touch on that because sometimes I hear people say, I've never heard that word before. So a lot of people just don't even know what that is. So you can look for functional medicine doctor, naturopath, holistic, and a lot of practitioners are not necessarily doctors. I know personally I get probably the most help from someone who's a bioenergy technician, and she's not even a doctor. So, stay open-minded, but there's a lot of different terminology that can be used. But like Jeanette said, like finding someone who even knows what root cause means is a big deal. And that kind of hit home for me when I took my son into a doctor. It was an ear, nose, and throat doctor, and we were conversing. And I said something about root cause. And he was like, oh, you're on that side of things. Or like it made a comment about just using the term root cause. Like that was a division. Like the root cause people are over here and the conventional people are over here. Because he was like, okay, here's what's going on. Let's treat this symptom. I'm like, but what's causing this problem? Like, how do we get to that? And it's a big difference in how these doctors approach it. So, if you're working with someone and they don't have a functional medicine doctor, do you have any tips for how they can find someone when they don't, like if they're new to what this all means?
Yes. So one of my favorite pioneers right now is James Maskell. He's the leader or one of the front runners that likes to advocate for functional medicine. He has an organization called the Evolution of Medicine. And in states and cities across the United States, they have these groups called the Functional Forum Meetup Groups, where it's a group of practitioners that come together and anybody is welcome, regular people like patients and myself, everybody is just invited to partake in this amazing talk where, you know, there's patients there looking for a diagnosis. I was at a talk about 3 months ago that this woman went to for gastroenterologists and nobody can diagnose her. They just said IBS, chronic IBS. And she did everything. She followed their protocol, nothing worked. And she went to a functional forum meetup groups and she went to a talk on SIBO, small intestinal bacterial overgrowth. And she listened to the lecture and she said, that's what I have linked up with the specialist of that. That's a functional medicine doctor. And she's on the road to recovery right now.
That's amazing.
So I love those kind of stories, and I see that a lot. And there's people just going out there, going to doctor symposiums, and figuring out who the specialists are that really know what's going on. Because a specialist is a specialist because they do understand the root cause. They do know the entire function. They know anatomy, and they know when our humanism gets in the way from what the anatomy is supposed to do. And so they figure out what's the disconnect and what's the root cause. And so that's a great place to start. I'm a part of a group where we just put a blast out, hey, Baltimore, Maryland, looking for a gastro or neurologist in functional medicine or functionally trained or a homeopath route to this. And we kind of connect people there too. So if people are really looking for that, they can DM me. Mm-hmm.
Okay, great. And if anybody's trying to get in touch with Jeanette and can't do it through the website, just let me know, and I'll make sure that you get connected with her.
Another
Go ahead.
that I use all the time is my Instagram, and it's very effective. And so that's Experience Cancer Health. And so that's what it's called.
Okay, perfect. I'm gonna write that down. Experience Cancer Health. Okay, so say someone comes to you, they've been diagnosed, they're on their journey, they're trying to recover. Do you have any favorite resources for them? And obviously they're working with you, and so week by week you're working through things, but just a place, maybe some resources that people can check out if they're just trying to get their feet wet and learn about this whole other side to cancer.
There's a few. There's definitely a few. If they're in the journey and they're mobile, like they're able to get up and go, I always find local organizations that actually offer free services. I know of quite a few in a couple of states nearby me that I have referred a few. In the state of California, Southern California, there's an organization called the Foundation for Living Beauty, where it's a 100% free organization to women going through the cancer journey. They give them all services, anywhere from crystal healing to Reiki to massage therapy to lymphatic flushes to oil classes to cooking to nutrition, completely free. Because a lot of the time these women are going through a march, and they might go to their friend's chiropractor or their friend's acupuncturist, but doesn't resonate with them. And so these practitioners offering their services for free in order for people to get a taste and to see who resonates with them so that they can truly feel healing. A big thing with looking for your team or your army that's going to work for you and your body is that you have a healing touch, which means that if your oncologist doesn't put their hand on your shoulder or on your own hand, they don't have the right compassion towards your diagnosis or your fear or your fight for life. And so the same thing goes with other practitioners, that there has to be a level of love, because there is so much healing in touch. I mean, a hug changes people's lives, changes their day around, and the same thing goes when you're diagnosed. So that's one. There's a Las Vegas Center for Cancer. Again, 100% free. They even have boarding if you're going in that area. Britney Spears actually brought that into fruition when she was a resident there. She donated a couple $1 million. And they have free food pantries, rides to and from places, meals. I mean, the list can go on, and I can talk about so many places in so many states. So if you're looking for a place like that near you to get samples of different modalities and introduce them to people like you and me, I would be happy to too.
Oh, that's awesome. Very cool. And I think, it can be overwhelming to start thinking through all of this, all these different options, like you mentioned, like acupuncture, Reiki, lymphatic, and then people can get very overwhelmed. Um, but I like to tell people that the idea is to bring the body back into balance. And if you have cancer, that means your body is out of balance. And kind of the main idea is regain balance and also create a soil where cancer cannot grow. It's like a weed. Weeds can only grow in certain places. So it needs soil that it can grow in, per se, and it needs food.
Right.
So how do we create a soil where it does not grow or it can't grow, and how do we stop feeding it? And all of these different practitioners have different modalities, and it's like a buffet, I think.
Yes.
You can choose a zillion of them, or you can just focus on a couple. It depends on how much time you have and your budget and those sorts of things. But don't feel like you have to partake in all of them. You find the ones that really resonate with you. You start experiencing them. I like how you were saying that one organization offers you like sampling.
Yeah.
Which is great because, for one person, something like acupuncture, they might feel very different and it really works for them. Whereas the next person's like, I don't know, didn't really help me at all. So you get to sample things, see what your body responds to, because every single person is different. And so if your neighbor or someone says, this is what worked for me, that's not necessarily what's going to work for you. And working with someone like Jeanette means you have someone to bounce ideas off of, someone who can make recommendations. What do you think about this? What do you think about that? And just someone to discuss it with, someone who's, has some knowledge about all these different modalities. So I just think it's so powerful. And I think it's important that people know that you exist.
Yeah. One thing when they're in this information overload, where they're just paralyzed with the amount of information, I have a list of about 200 words. And then so we go through it, and then we, as we're going through, I say, tell me which one resonates, or it's a maybe. And we just highlight it. And those words I link them directly with certain kind of modalities, and then we'll go through a list of modalities, and they might say, oh, I'm not going to do that, or I would like more information. I educate them on what it is and how they can find the person nearest them, just to start with one step at a time.
Yeah, make it doable.
Yeah, and
typically, how long do people work with you?
So I have a variety of ways that people can work with me. It's truly up to what they want, and that we make sure that we have that in writing before we actually start in the contract, because my goal is to never know somebody for more than 9 months working with them. That's my goal, because I feel like during those 9 months I can empower them to take on their own health and be able to educate them enough that they can control it on their own. After that, I usually do a nice check-in once a season. So once every 3 months, we just say, hi, how are you? Do you need anything? No? Perfect. I'm so happy you're good. But you were talking about, what one thing might work for your neighbor and not for you. There's a big thing that I see in the cancer world, and that's comparing and judging and analyzing. And we need to refrain from comparing, especially comparing their behavior or the way that they're seeing or their outlook on cancer. They got there because they went through the pain, they sat with it, and were able to see on the other side. Many times my clients have told me that cancer is a divine tap on the shoulder saying, hey, how you are living is killing us. We need to change. And so it takes a while to see that and be ready for that. But you will get there. You will get there once you have a great team that you can trust, and you can trust the journey and allow healing to happen.
Awesome. And so I think you touched on this briefly before, but you work with people whether they kind of whatever modalities they choose, whether they're choosing a conventional route and just want to throw in a couple other little pieces, or if they're going holistic. You can work with anybody?
I can work with anyone as long as they have an oncologist overseeing the care. They have to be overseen. If they choose not to do treatment, that oncologist does have to be periodically monitoring them. I don't work with people that go completely off the grid. They have to have somebody monitoring them. Just like I said, I don't like people who don't know where they're standing first. They need to know where they're at, which is why the Parade of Doctors is the first place to start. Because there are some people who never got a diagnosis and they just feel they are, and they're going through this extreme lifestyle for no reason sometimes.
Okay, really good to know. Okay. Do you have any, maybe you can share some testimonials of people that you've worked with?
Yeah. Would you like food? Would you like a supplement?
Maybe just examples of,
Radical
things
remission.
sort of things that they did that made a big difference, or just like, an interesting story, or just to give people kind of an idea of what can happen.
Yes. So I've had clients that they've worked 100% Western medicine or Eastern medicine, still being under care of a doctor. And they're doing everything possible. They're eating right. They're following the exercise recommendations from their PT. They have a team of people, and there was something missing. They could not shake where they were. They could not stay either in remission or get into remission. They could not slow down or because they were having so much judgment on themselves. And so there was a book I recommend to almost all my clients. And that book, especially if they don't have a strong spiritual background, has led to shifts in mindset. Dare I say the word miracle, in order for their body to be able to heal. And that book is A Return to Love, Marianne Williamson.
Okay.
And that is usually a gateway or aha or a beautiful breakthrough that people just, it resonates with them. Because a lot of the time, in my opinion, cancer comes from a separation from ourselves. And when we find healing is because we found ourselves again. We found love again. We're loving ourselves. And so this book helps that journey along.
Amazing.
So in these two cases, the one that did conventional and the one that did Eastern, both of them, their tumor reduction went down by anywhere from 50 to 70%.
Wow.
Yeah, because their mindset just completely changed. They were thriving. They were bright. They were shining. They wanted to give. They found their purpose again. And so one of my biggest things is when I start working with them, I say, what do you want your legacy to be? Because I start working on it now. And so we find passions, we find these things that light up their life, and their family around them just follow suit with this beautiful energy that they have.
Yeah, the mind-body connection is amazing. Sometimes it can sound kind of woo-woo and out there, but if we think about it, when you get embarrassed, your face can turn bright red. And when you're nervous, you get sweaty and the whole butterflies in the stomach. And I think when people think about it that way, the mind-body connection is much more obvious. Or if you see someone that you have a crush on, your body changes. You might start getting sweaty or red, or your heart goes faster. So just for the folks listening, if that sounds a little bit, woo-woo to you, I just encourage you to really keep an open mind and consider it, because the science is also coming. I mean, it's going to be very well accepted here in the future.
The science is called psychoneuroimmunology. It's the way that the body responds to having a clear mindset. And the Dr. Deepak Chopra said it best, that mindfulness, when you're in a mindful state, is the psychology of possibilities. And so what I'm doing basically is just opening up a book of possibilities in order for people to find what resonates with them in conjunction to whatever treatment they want. You can think of it as ancient techniques used in this modern world, or you can think of it of just living with purpose, living with passion, and it's one of my favorite things.
That's awesome. I love that. We've covered a lot. I don't want to overwhelm anybody, but I hope that everyone listening, whether you're just a person trying to learn more, or perhaps we have some health coaches who are listening and trying to learn more because they're also trying to help people with this diagnosis. And not that we, treat or cure or heal as health coaches, but like you were saying, when you're working with someone who can help change the mindset, that can make every difference. And just someone who can walk alongside you and support you and help you to connect with really good information so you can make informed decisions. And A health coach can also help you have a more productive working relationship with your doctor, like learning how to ask better questions, things like that. So thank you for all the work that you're doing. It's so important. It's unfortunate that, cancer is just rampant. So, I think we need a lot more people like you. So for now, since there's not too many holistic cancer coaches, I hope you guys will just connect with Jeanette on Instagram, check out our website. As I know you guys can tell, she's just a beautiful soul and an amazing person. So any other,
you're doing
oh, thank
and I just think the world of you.
Oh, thank you so much. Is there anything you wanted to share that we didn't cover, or do you think we got to know this is a very deep topic, and so this is just kind of cursory, but
just that for those people who don't believe in the mind-body connection, mind-body-spirit connection, if you want to say like that, there are such things like pseudo-pregnancies where people think they're pregnant, their body starts showing that they're pregnant, or they have pseudo-tumors. If they think they have tumors in a certain place, it will grow. Everything that we're thinking, every thought, every cell in our body is eavesdropping on those thoughts. So make sure that you have a completely clear, beautiful consciousness so that our body can be beautiful and clear too.
I love that, eavesdropping. That's a great way to think about it. Beautiful. Thank you so much. I really appreciate your time. And I'll make sure that anybody from our group who's trying to find you gets in touch.
Perfect. Thank you, Trisha.